Ovigwe Eguegu. He's a policy advisor at Development Reimagined and columnist for the China-Africa Project. It's good to have you on the program. Let's start off with these negotiations that are expected to take place between the representatives of both sides, both the armed forces and the RSF. How do you think those negotiations will end?
Well, first of all, it's a very good news that both leaders are willing to now engage more significantly in terms beyond just ceasefires. I think the immediate objective would first and foremost to create a real humanitarian corridor that will not be violated in ways we have seen in recent weeks. Because of course, we know that the ICRC and other organizations involved in humanitarian effort are having issues with security and accessing parts of the country. I think that's the first objective. And then secondly, it would not go into the main issues, where we will see major disagreement between both of the leaders. I think for the RSF, this is almost a do or die affair because it's a very dicey situation that have been brewing for many months, and we saw them packed outside of the capital before the outbreak 3 weeks ago. So they definitely want to have guarantees on what is going to be their status, and I think that will be very difficult for the RSF to compromise on that, and also for the Sudanese army as well.
Right, as you mentioned, there are thousands of people, thousands of Sudanese that's trapped in between the fighting between the two warring sides. How important is it that they at least get these ceasefires to last so those humanitarian corridors can work effectively and people have access to that much needed aid?
One of the main things I think we have to consider is we got to this point where both leaders are willing to engage, because initially there was very little leverage, and that was because at that point, with the first week of the conflict rather, they had a lot of ammo, they have a lot of resources at their disposal, but they've since exhaust those, and that is why leverage appeared out of the blue, because now both their benefactors and those who support them are now putting pressure on them to create these humanitarian corridors. And I think these international outside powers who are involved in the negotiation, including the African institutions and countries as well, have to continue to ensure that these fighters, whether the RSF or even the SAF, don't get as much supplies, because that is what really is fueling the conflict. The less arms they can get, the more the conditions for a political resolution will be successful. So with regards to the humanitarian situation, I think both sides seem very optimistic, very committed to it. They want, of course, the Sudanese people to not really suffer, because they know if the Sudanese population perceive either of them to be the main obstacle to humanitarian aid, then they are going to lose political credibility among the Sudanese people.
All right, Ovigwe Eguegu, thank you so much for joining us here on TRT World and sharing that information with us.